Hi everyone, we're going to begin talking about forms and reports in this chapter, and we're not really going to start digging in until later chapters, but I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about some terms that you're going to see in this chapter. Namely, when you're working with your reports, you'll see things, reports and forms that is, you'll see things like form view, report view, layout view, and I'd like to talk about what these things mean exactly. Basically, when you're working with forms and reports, you're designing forms and or reports, and there are three types of views that you can work in, okay? Basically, the views go from you having the least control over the design of the form or the report all the way up to having the ultimate control or the most control. So let's look at the simplest and the view that you'll have the least control over, and that would be regular form or report view. And this is basically what your user sees. Ultimately, somebody's going to be using your forms or the reports that you design. And so the form or report view is what the user actually sees. And they'll see all of the data, and there's really no design control whatsoever in this particular view. For example, let me just open up this contract data form. I'm in form view, okay? And this is what the user would see if they were actually using my database and using the form to enter data and whatnot. So I can see the data, I can work with the data, but I have no control over the design of this. The user cannot make any change as far as like the size of these text boxes or these fields. The user can't change colors or anything like that. So this is just what your user would see. And the same thing with reports. We have a report down here. Let me just open it, the contract details. Again, this is just regular report view. The user cannot make any kind of change, but you see all of the data. Okay, so that's really like the end result of your form or report. You can look, but you can't touch. Okay, so moving on to the next type of view that you'll see in this chapter. It's what we call the layout view. And here's how you can spot layout view a mile away. You can see like orange lines around the fields or text boxes in your form or report. And the data is still visible. It looks a lot like the regular form or report view that we just discussed, but you do have some design control in this particular view. So let's, here I am in the report, okay? And if I go up here to the upper left, I can change the view to layout view. Okay, and now I do have some control. If I want to stretch these out a little bit, change the size of things, change colors and things like that. So this is something that you would not allow your user to have. Ultimately, you're the one who should be able to make the changes to the designs of the design of things, but the user would only be using the regular form or report view. So let's look at the form in layout view. Again, I'm going to the upper left here. I'm going to choose layout view. So now I have control over the way things look. I can size it and what now. Again, I can still see the data, but I do have some control over the way things look. Okay, so you'll see layout view in this chapter. That'll be your first exposure to that. And then lastly, you probably won't see this in this chapter, but this is coming down the pipeline in this class. We have what we call design view. And this will give you the ultimate control over the design of your report or form. And this is probably the most difficult because you have so many options to work with and so many things that you can do. But again, if you want serious, like you want to be serious about report design and form design, you have to work in design view. So we'll look at this very quickly. Basically, I'll bring up my form here, and I'll go to design view. Okay, notice we don't see data. The actual data, like customer IDs and amounts and all that, that's not available in design view. This is how you spot design view a mile away. You can see the dots, like the little grid for lining up text boxes and various things like that. So here we have the ultimate control, but like I said, it's the most tricky to work with because there's just so much available to you, and again, you don't see the data, so that's another way you can tell the difference between that. So that's coming down the line. For now, you'll just work in regular view and of course in layout view. That's the focus of this chapter. But then a couple of chapters from now, after our first exam, where, like I said, we're going to dig in some more, and then we'll be in design view and getting more serious about designing reports and forms.